The common assumption is that groundbreaking ideas originate within the academy. Yet, some research suggests that academic institutions only ratify profound insights long after the collective body has already embraced them. Jason, this goes against the traditional view of intellectual progress. How do we square that circle?
It's a powerful inversion of how we typically think about knowledge creation. David Brilliman, in his field blogs, argues that the academy doesn't initiate these deep truths. Instead, it formalizes them once they've been intuitively felt and expressed by people, often through ritual or art. This process, as he describes, is a recurring cycle throughout history.
So you're saying that ideas aren't born in a lecture hall or a laboratory, but in something more visceral. Can you give me some examples of how this pattern plays out?
Certainly. Consider ancient Greek myths. They began as sung poetry and ritual, embedded in culture, providing meaning and structure. Centuries later, philosophers translated them into metaphysics. Or take Zen koans and Taoist verses. These deep spiritual insights first appeared in the West as counterculture through beat poetry, and only much later became legitimized as mindfulness science, complete with fMRI studies.
That's a fascinating progression, from poetry to brain scans. What about more contemporary examples?
Even the current wave of embodied cognition, which emphasizes the mind-body connection, started in places like dance, somatic therapy, and what some might dismiss as woo circles. It was long after these practices had done the heavy lifting that academics like Damasio, Varela, and Thompson gave them citations and formal scientific recognition. The insights are there first, then the analytical machine starts grinding.
It sounds like the academic validation is almost a retroactive process. This contrasts sharply with Descartes' famous mind-body split, which dominates so much of Western thought. Was that split an anomaly in this historical pattern?
Absolutely. Brilliman points out that Descartes' split was the historical anomaly, not the norm. Most pre-modern cultures intrinsically treated mind and body as an integrated whole, seeing the dichotomy as false from the start. What we're witnessing now with the rise of relational epistemology isn't a new discovery, it's an excavation, a remembering of wisdom that was buried under what's called exclusive extractive rationalism.
So, if the body or collective intuition is often the first to grasp these truths, how does this understanding inform engaging with complex, often tribal online discussions, like those in culture wars?
This is where the concept of a pattern interrupt probe comes in. Instead of directly engaging with the emotional binary us versus them framing of a high engagement thread, you step orthogonally. You introduce a different question. Who recognizes these truths first, and who receives credit later? This question is unanswerable from within the original narrow frame without validating the underlying pattern you're naming. It shifts the focus from tribal sorting to pattern recognition.
That's a clever way to reframe the conversation without directly arguing. A core phrase that emerges from this work is, quote, "The body knew, the academy forgot. Now the body is teaching again." How does such a poetic line become so impactful, and how does it then translate into formal understanding?
That line is a perfect example of what Brilliman calls poetic compression. It's like a Zen koan or a Blake aphorism. It doesn't explain, it evokes. It creates an emotional resonance, a truth feeling that bypasses our usual filters. This leads to public resonance, things going viral because they just feel right. Then the analytic expansion kicks in. Intellectual commentators unpack it, provide the academic scaffolding, the jargon, somatic recursive registers, embodied cognition, Descartes' error, for example. Finally, it becomes a redistributed narrative, circulating in papers, therapy rooms, even corporate wellness programs, now wearing the armor of academic legitimacy.
It's interesting that this process isn't seen as anti-rational, but as corrective integration. How does this nuanced interpretation prevent it from collapsing into mere sloganism or anti-science sentiment?
That's a crucial distinction. The interpretation avoids collapsing into simplistic claims like trust your feelings or intuition supremacy. Instead, it stabilizes around sophisticated concepts like embodied cognition, systems thinking, and epistemological balance. The key phrase, "the academy forgot," is particularly powerful because it leaves room for return and reintegration, not destruction of scholarship. It suggests that rationality without embodiment becomes extractive, and embodiment without clarity becomes unstable. The goal is to bridge these domains.
So the very medium through which these ideas spread, through relational interaction and emotional resonance, actually becomes evidence for the argument itself. The form and content align.
Precisely. The uncanny alignment of the medium enacting the argument gives it an almost inevitable quality. The ideas aren't primarily propagated through institutional publications, but through networked cognition and recursive commentary. It's a testament to the idea that the network itself metabolizes and propagates these insights.
Is there any scientific framework that directly investigates this body knowing you've described?
Yes, absolutely. The scientific study of interoceptive accuracy, or IAC, offers a modern framework for this. IAC refers to our objective ability to detect and perceive internal bodily signals, things like heartbeats, breathing patterns, or visceral sensations. Research shows that individuals with higher IAC often perform better in complex decision-making and have a more nuanced understanding of their emotional states. It grounds the intuitive wisdom of the body in measurable psychophysical tasks.
So this field is actively exploring how our internal bodily sensations influence our cognition and emotions. It's like academia is finally catching up to what many cultures have known intuitively for centuries.
That's exactly right. Research distinguishes between interoceptive accuracy, objective performance, interoceptive sensibility, subjective awareness, and interoceptive metacognition, the match between the two. This evolving field acts as a bridge, formalizing what our bodies have known all along. It underscores that the academy isn't the sole source of wisdom, but a vital tool for synthesis and reintegration. When both work in concert, we gain a more comprehensive understanding of our existence.
This discussion makes a powerful case for the interplay between intuitive wisdom and academic rigor. If you found this conversation insightful, please share this episode with someone who would also appreciate it.